Even when growing a business, bills need to be paid. And more than that, you will need something to help fund your business. Because when you're just starting out, you're not going to be making income. You'll need something to help you buy your first products in, or to help you buy the machines to make those products. This is why a lot of small business owners work full-time when they're first starting out. Because not a lot of us are in situations where we have the privilege to be able to quit a job and go straight into being a full-time small business. However, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. Running a small business alongside working full-time is really hard. Not only have you got to keep yourself motivated even after you've just done like an 8 or 10 hour shift and you're tired, but you also have to keep organized outside of working, and you have to stick to quite a strict schedule in order to get things done. And if you don't take the right steps, it can often lead to burnout, or maybe even just getting demotivated, and that might cause you to give up on your business, or it might even just stump the growth of your business. However, despite all of this, it's not impossible. Many people have done it beforehand, and as someone who has worked multiple jobs alongside running and growing a small business, I want to share with you some tips that I found really helpful for running a small business alongside working a full-time or even part-time job. So when I decided to make this video to share some tips with you guys of things that I found helpful, the first thing that came to mind was having a good workspace. I don't know if this seems like an obvious one for some people, but even just having a small desk in a corner of a room that you can call your own, that is where you get your small business work done, is going to be so helpful. If you're new here and you don't know me, I used to film videos. If you want to go back to the start of my channel, I used to film videos in my bedroom. I used to grow my business from my bedroom in a tiny little corner. I'm very lucky now to have my own studio, but it's taken me a good 2 years to get here. But having that little space made such a difference. If you've not worked from home before, or you've never been your own boss, or maybe you're just not that good at keeping yourself accountable when you're at home, that's completely normal. The thing is that if you've never worked at home before, then your brain will not associate home with work. Your brain associates home with probably relaxing, or spending time with family and friends, or watching TV on the sofa until like midnight, you know? Which is why having a little space, a little desk in your house will be so helpful for you, because your brain needs to associate a little part of your home with work to help you focus. Having a nice little cozy desk, even if it's small, will help. Getting into the focus mindset is very, very hard, especially after you've just come home from a long day of work. So having a little desk or an office space that you can call your own, your brain, as soon as you sit down at that desk, your brain will be able to click on and it'll associate that little area with working. So it'll be easier for you to focus. It's also just nice to have a little area that you can make your own, whether it's putting up some nice ambient lights or maybe a nice little aesthetic setup, whatever that may look like for you. It helps keep you motivated to have a nice work area. Weirdly, having aesthetic setups can actually help you focus. It makes you want to work because it's nice, it's cozy. So having a good workspace is essential if you're running a business while working full-time. I should also mention, these aren't in any particular order, by the way. I just kind of wrote them down as they came to me. So they're not in any particular order. Some of them may be more valuable to you than others, but this is just a list of things that I thought of that helps me to stay focused and motivated over these past 2 years of growing a business and working full-time. Tip number 2 is actually quite a big one. It's focus on one thing at a time. I am very, 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 very guilty of giving myself too much to do and being too ambitious. And I totally get when you're starting a small business, you want to do everything. You want to set up Etsy's and Shopify's and do market stalls and then buy hundreds of products and do this and do that. And you know, it's exciting, it is. But however, that kind of mindset can actually stump your growth more than it'll help. It can lead to you feeling overwhelmed, which in turn can demotivate you, and it can lead to burnout as well. I learned this the hard way. For about a year, I feel like I really struggled to focus on anything because the year previous, I had been doing too much. I had forced myself to do too much and I got burnt out for like an entire year, which basically wrote off an entire year of my business and growing a business because I couldn't focus on my business. I was too tired, demotivated, overwhelmed with everything. Luckily, I finally got out of that, but just save yourself the hassle. This is where prioritizing comes in. What I tend to do when I feel like I have a lot going on or there's a lot I want to do, I will write down a list of every single thing that I want to do or that needs to get done. And then I will I call it the traffic light system. I don't know if that's an actual thing or if I've just made that up, but basically I get 3 markers or 3 highlighters, and I'll try and get like a green, red, and an amber colored one, an orange one. And I'll take the tasks that I have written down and I'll mark the ones that are biggest priority, like they need to be done soon, no, not negotiable, there's a deadline, they need to be done. I'll mark those in red as like most important. Amber is kind of like, they're kind of important, but not as important as the red stuff. They can be done next. They can be left for like a week or 2. It's not like the end of the world, but they do need done. In green are just tasks that maybe I just want to get done, but they can be done whenever. There's no deadline. It's not a big deal. Like, that really helps me to prioritize. Like for January, for example, a big one that I've been marking in red every single week is taxes. Taxes, it's tax season in the UK. That's been a big one for me. That's been in red. My launch, getting my products done, has actually been amber because, again, taxes have been more important to me. I kind of just do it whenever my mind feels cluttered. It really, really helps to declutter my mind. To see the list on paper and to mark down what needs done first is just the best way to do things. There'll probably only be 1 or 2 things in red that are that need done. So when you come home from a long day of work and you look at your list, it looks a little less scary seeing that there's probably more amber and green tasks that need done than red. Like I said, you want to do one thing at a time. So coming home after a long day of work and picking out one thing that's in red that you need done soon, it's helpful. It kind of takes a little bit less brain power, it takes a little bit less stress. You know what needs done. It's a little bit easier and a little bit less stressful. Third tip is probably a little obvious, but I wanted to include it anyway. It's setting time limits and deadlines. If you've been here a while, or if you haven't, a lot of the times in my vlogs, I will talk about how I want to get video editing done by 1 o'clock, and then I want to start taxes at maybe 1:30 and then get them done by 3. And then I always set myself time limits for everything I do. And I find that really helpful because for me personally, this may not work for everyone. Everyone's brain works differently. However, setting time limits for me kind of creates a sense of urgency. And for some reason, I can only work when I'm under pressure. It helps me to focus because I'm like, okay, I need this done by 1 o'clock. Think about when you're at your job, right? You usually have deadlines and time limits, like maybe clean the toilets and that takes half an hour. There's usually time limits, there's usually deadlines. They've scheduled things out. That's how the business runs, and that's how your business should run as well. Deadlines for me, actually, I've only recently started setting deadlines for my launches, and I have been so much more proactive with getting launches and designs done because I've actually set dates for my launch. Rather than just going, oh, it's going to be at the end of January, I'm like, it's going to be January 1st. Obviously, it can change depending on manufacturers because I use manufacturers. It can, depending on other sources, it can change. But it does give me that deadline of I need everything done by that date. So whether you're setting a time limit of an hour or 2 to do your finance and budgeting, or whether you're setting a deadline of a month to get your shop opened up, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that you've got a calendar, or even I usually set alarms. Alarms are really helpful for getting stuff done, or you can get timers and stuff as well for your desk, which are really helpful. I'd recommend Notion if you want a good online calendar that's completely free. I use it to schedule my videos. It really, really helps with keeping on top of a posting schedule if you're going to be doing marketing and online videos or Instagram, whatever you're going to be doing. Time limits, deadlines, and schedules are gonna be your best friend. I do a schedule every week of what I'm gonna be doing that week. I do one for every month so I know when videos are gonna be up, when launches are gonna be up. It just helps me to keep a little bit more organized. It also helps prioritizing a little bit as well. Tip number 4. This one is a very, very big one, and for anyone who does struggle to concentrate, sometimes even setting deadlines and time limits might not help some people. This one will help you a lot if you're working full-time and also running a business or growing a business. It's outsourcing. Now, what do I mean by outsourcing? I don't necessarily mean paying someone to do your budgeting and financing. I also don't necessarily mean getting a business manager or getting someone to edit your videos for your social media pages. If you get paid enough from your full-time job to be able to afford that stuff, that's great. That's awesome. I would recommend it if you can and if you think it will help you. It will save you a lot of time. If I could afford someone to edit my videos, I absolutely would. You can outsource things like your making packaging, like branded packaging, making business cards. If you're doing stickers, you can outsource that to manufacturers. You can make keychains. You can outsource your keychains, all of your products. You can outsource pretty much everything. A lot of people also use print on demand, which, if you don't know what that is, it's pretty much what it sounds like. You send your designs to the company. There's things like Printed and Printify you can look into. They will send you templates and you put your designs on the templates, and they will essentially make whatever it is you're buying. Like you can make t-shirts, mugs for a fee. They will make it and ship it out for you. So all you'll be doing is designing the products rather than doing everything else. So if you're a really busy person with dreams and aspirations, it's not impossible. It is just a little bit of an alternative. I know a lot of people want to start handmade small businesses. However, we are living in a time of inflation. It's not always that easy. And when I first started, I didn't really make anything at home. I do a little bit more now. I have a silhouette machine. I've been able to buy myself printers as my business has grown as well, and sublimation machines. But when I started out, I didn't. I feel like having a handmade small business is a bit of a privilege in terms of time. Sending your designs to a manufacturer can take like 10 minutes. Making all of your stickers at home by yourself can take hours. It's a difference between taking up your full weekend and maybe just taking up a little portion of it. Being a handmade business is kind of a privilege in this day and age because of things like inflation, because people have to work 2 to 3 jobs just to stay on top of things and keep up with bills. It can be hard, but it's not impossible. And if you do need to use print on demand for the first couple of years, or if you do need to outsource to manufacturers, even though you maybe don't want to, it might just be to the benefit of your business to start with. It doesn't mean you can't grow into a handmade business over time. So it's something to think about, and it will save you a lot of trouble. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is get help from others. I understand that a lot of people may struggle to keep themselves accountable for their own workload, or you may struggle to be your own boss. Being your own boss isn't easy. It's quite hard. And not everyone is natural at time management or is natural at keeping themselves accountable, and that's fine. That's why I'm saying to get help from others. Now, before I go further, this doesn't have to be family and friends. I'm aware a lot of people who start small businesses don't want to tell people they're starting small businesses, which is completely fine. There are a lot of networks and groups and people out there that also need to keep themselves accountable. There are a lot of events that you can go meet people, fellow small businesses, who will hold things like workshops or maybe online Zoom calls, where they will keep you guys accountable, where you'll all work together, even if it's just one friend who has a small business who maybe you want to meet up with once a month. If you tell your friend or someone you're just meeting up with, like in your network or whoever it is, that you're going to do this, and you know that in a month's time you're going to be meeting with them again, and you're like, I'm going to have it done by then, it kind of feels like there's a bit more pressure on you. Doing things alone is hard, and it's absolutely fine if you need other people's help. Connecting with others and networking is also a great way of finding ways to do things maybe a little faster. Maybe there's easier ways to do things. Like, people who are doing the same thing as you may have ways to help you, have ways to time manage better. It's just a really great idea to connect with others in the same kind of business circles as you. Again, this might be a little bit of an obvious one, and I'm gonna keep saying this in my video until it gets stuck in all of your heads. Take breaks. It doesn't matter if you work full-time and run a business, you need to take breaks. In 2024, I incorporated into my schedule stopping work after a certain time. So I never work, or very rarely, unless it's like urgent, work past 7:30. And I go to bed at like 10. So I get a good couple of hours each night before I go to bed to relax. And that works well for me. Beforehand, I used to literally wake up, work until I'd fall asleep, and then just do it again. I didn't take breaks, and that's why I burnt out. Your business isn't going anywhere, is what I'm trying to say. If you take a day break, that's fine. If you miss a video, that's fine. You can always pick it up again the next week. It's hard because when you start, you have this feeling in you of like, oh, I need to get done quick. I need to go full time quick because I want to get away from my job, or I'm struggling for money and I need more money. There's a lot of reasons why you might be a bit rushed to have your business be successful, but I really do believe that when you're planting the seeds for your business, you want to nurture it. You don't want to rush it. You want to make sure that you're starting with a solid foundation. You want to make sure that what you're creating is gonna work out. You're giving it the best chance. Try not to rush. I get that it's a little hard working full-time. You probably just want to give all your time to your small business, but it will hinder you more than it will help you. Speaking from experience, we as humans are just we're not built to live the life that society has created for us. We're forced to work 50-hour work weeks when we're just not built to live that way. It's very, very hard, and a lot of people are struggling mentally and physically, and with inflation, it's made a lot worse, and life right now isn't easy for a lot of people. But there's always time to chase your dream. There will always be time to grow your business, even if you've got to take breaks, even if you've got to take a break for an entire year. That's absolutely fine. There's another tip that I have that I've actually just thought of. I don't know if I'm going to include it. Take it with a grain of salt. If you have the opportunity to change to a job that maybe has a little bit of a better schedule for you, if you're currently working full-time 5 days a week in an office, if you have an opportunity to change that and maybe work 5 days a week from home, or maybe even do part-time work, if you have that opportunity, I do recommend it if you can afford it comfortably. Like I said, when I worked full-time 5 days a week in an office, that I worked 3 months for that company. It was draining. Coming home every day for 5 o'clock, working until 9, sleeping, and then doing it all again the next day. It was really, really hard. Even before that office job, I was working part-time as a barista, and I wasn't even making that much money, and I was drained because running around on your feet all day, dealing with people who are yelling at you and getting angry over coffee, which is such a stupid thing to get angry over, is draining. And then coming home and then having to film and be cheerful and do product designs, it's a lot. That job, even being part-time, that job didn't serve me either, and it took a lot away from my small business as well. I jumped jobs a little bit until I found the one that I'm currently in. I've been at my job for a year and I love it. It's work from home, it's 4-day work week. It's a little bit less money than what I used to make at my old job, but I'm still able to live comfortably, and I'm able to dedicate another entire day for my small business on the weekend, or just have a day off. So it serves me a lot better. So if you have the opportunity, or if you maybe even just want to look around to see what there is, I understand the job market isn't the best right now. If you guys think I missed anything out, or you want to write anything down in the comments that helps you guys while you're working full-time and growing a business, any time management tips, or maybe if you just have any questions about other kind of things about working full-time and growing a small business, leave your questions in comments down below and I will try my best to answer them all. I really hope this helped. I've not seen anyone really talk about this before, so I hope these tips helped you guys and that you're able to work full-time while you're growing a small business, live in a comfortable life while still chasing your dreams. I hope this helped a little bit. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, then you might like my video where I talked about how to start a small art business from scratch. I broke everything down into phases, from researching and prep to opening an online shop. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!